Welcome to Behind the Studio Door with Studio Expansion. Hello, it is Chantelle here and welcome. If you're a studio owner, you're probably really familiar with the sensation of feeling like you're running and spinning plates all the time. And that's exactly how our guest today, Bethany Smith, felt. She was running 3 separate companies, 3 separate businesses, and giving so much to everyone and everything in her life. And through working and finding out her zone of genius, we consolidated everything into one streamlined, efficient, sophisticated business that has transformed her life, now giving her the scope to go on romantic trips to Paris with her husband and have the time she wants with her 2 young boys. And in today's episode, she's going to share with you how she did it and how she's gained this freedom in her life that she was always seeking. And it started with absolutely putting simplicity at the heart of every decision. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle in, and let's get started. Bethany, how are you, lovely?
I am good. I'm so glad to see you.
Would you like some tea?
I love tea.
Good. Me too.
And I love that pretty gold.
It's very fancy pants, isn't
Very
it?
fancy.
It's very fancy. This is peppermint tea we're having today.
It smells lovely.
It's good. So Bethany, you're a local.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Atlanta gal.
I am.
Yes. And so you have a studio just how far from here?
We are I think 15 miles from here, or maybe
miles.
20 miles from Retreat. But I do come and I stay at Retreat because it's such a needed time in my year, and I love it so much.
It's a precious little bubble.
It is.
It's nice to just immerse yourself in it, isn't it, with all the people.
Yeah.
So Bethany, we were just reminiscing the first time we met,
Yes.
and the stage of your life that you were in at the time, and how you were holding a lot in your life. You had the theatre, a whole theatre that you produced productions and a professional productions. You had the studio, and then you had Legacy Dance as well, and you had all of these things going in your life, and being the mum to 2 beautiful boys. You had a lot going on, and how overwhelmed. So do you want to kind of tell us about what the studio looked like initially, and what that felt like at the time?
Yeah. I had a full-time professional theater. With that alone, it's a lot. It's a lot to carry.
Yes, let's just acknowledge that now.
That alone, running. Yes, the theater's a lot. And then in addition to that, we had
understatement.
Just that part of it. And then in addition to that, running. Essentially 2 separate studios under the same location, and that's how we had kind of always structured it. And then we adopted 2 boys back to back very quickly within 14 months of each other.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful, but these are all as your business is your baby. So I had these 3 other children, and then now 2 more children, and still trying to balance all of those.
Yes.
So I think it's been about 4 years that I have been with Studio Expansion.
Yes.
And started following your free videos online, and loving every any of those tips you would have, or your live videos. I would always be on, any of them I could. I remember being backstage at one. I'm literally choreographing on stage, and I went backstage to catch one of the lives.
Oh my goodness.
I did, yeah. And that was the first, it was about 4 years ago, my first introduction to Studio Expansion. And then with my first master class before I was in Evolution, I remember meeting you, and you said, "So Bethany, tell me about yourself, and why are you here?" And I just started bawling, "Hi, nice to meet you." And now I'm just going to bawl right now.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was a
lot.
It was a lot, and I could tell that you cared, and it was a safe place, but to say that. But it was a lot, and it was a moment for me to pause and to really realize what I was carrying, and that I was taking a moment for myself and for the business to say, hey, this is a lot. So that's where I was. I was completely overwhelmed, I guess, without even knowing it until that moment you asked me how I was doing. I thought I was fine until that moment.
Yes. Well, I think what was really difficult, must have been very difficult for you, is I can imagine that essentially having 3 businesses running in your head at all times, and each business has its own, energetic container, right? And it has its own needs and its own demands and its own love, and so you're pouring love and creating the experience within, and it's not one simplified thing. And so I remember sitting down with you, and we're kind of talking about how where were the synergies? How did they overlap? And it was a very interesting conversation where we kept kind of thinking like, oh, could we kind of integrate? What could we integrate? And I kept going like, it's one, Bethany.
Yes.
It's one business. It's not 3 businesses. This is one business. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah. I feel like every retreat I was kind of struggling with that because we were building out things for your business, and yet I felt like I had 3.
Yeah.
And I would come to you, I think, on every break going, it just isn't working.
Yeah.
And then and then Teresa as well, one of the mentors helped me, and she's like, you get to say one name, say it. And I was like, oh, okay, Legacy Theater, and that really did free me. And I think it was at that moment to look at it through just with a new lens, which is what evolution does so well. It just helps you to look at something from a different perspective.
So we wanted to really see, like, how could we make this business as tight as possible? How could we reduce all of the additional administration, all of the additional communication, all of the additional kind of team positioning, and just if we were to make this so clean. I know a lot of studios as well, like they might have a preschool program, and that's very separate in their head, and then they've got like a school age program, then they've got maybe an adult program. They kind of have them as very set identities, and I believe that they're just one. And with your business, it was like, where is this one link that is kind of bringing them through? So what was the process like for you of that streamlining, consolidation into simplicity?
It's, at one of the retreats, you gave us a frame with our word, and mine's simplicity. It sits on my desk every single day.
Really?
So
Still
everything,
does?
yeah,
That was like
absolutely.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I saw it this morning. But it sits on my desk, and so everything runs through the filter of simplicity. And realizing that when I would kind of say that word, I would have peace. And I was like, oh, that is what I'm craving. I'm not craving accolades. I'm not craving money. I'm craving simplicity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm craving right now. So everything kind of went through the filter of that. And that's where you would challenge me and say, well, is this the simplest way you can do it? Is this the simplest way? And then I would go, is there a more simple way? And it's fun because it's part of my dialogue now every day. It's part of my dialogue with my team. What's the easiest way and the simplest way we can get to that? Yes, we might have had a way we've already always done it, but yet now this is available, this technology, or this is available. So what's the simplest way we can do this? So it's been fun. I've seen it affect every single way of my life. Simplicity from my morning routine, waking up and having my coffee and having that time to really center myself, walking into my simple office that's cleaned out all the clutter. Opening up my computer and having simplified systems on the entire computer, that if I do have challenging times in the business, whether someone might have to leave unexpectedly or not hitting goals, whatever it is, I can now go to my simplified systems and look at it through a new lens and say, oh, well, then if we just tweak this in here, move this like this, what if we tried this? Or here's, the system for what we did last year, let's just roll it out the same way again. So, and letting other people roll those out. So there's so many, every aspect. Marketing, marketing's planned for the entire year, and it's all, systemized, that then my marketing director, yes, I'm always proofing ads and adding new things in, but as far as what we're doing and when we're doing it, those are all lined up, which marketing's a huge part because we have 3 different things essentially we were doing. So now we're still advertising classes, but we're also advertising all the shows at the same time. So it's, but simplicity has definitely been my mantra for a good couple of years now.
It's so powerful. It's so interesting. And what reaction has your team had to, like, because it's a significant change. Like,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
a whole identity shift in shifting from like, well, I'm part of I'm not in the studio.
Right.
I'm actually the theatre. I'm a theatre person. I don't,
Yes, that's what it was.
How did you navigate those waters?
It's, that has been I think one of my strongest convictions, and one of the things I really, really fought for, because everyone was comfortable in their areas. You have the dancers over here and the actors over here and my, admin team over here, and we all are great friends separately. And yet I was running team meetings
For everyone.
Yeah, for everyone, except for my administrative assistant. She would run with me, so she was seeing that as well. But she was about the only person that really understood how divided we were as a team. So it was fun. It was fun just kind of regrouping and bringing everyone in together, holding team trainings with everyone, and redefining and refining the way I was even staffing. So hiring team in a smaller team as opposed to a teacher that just teaches one class randomly on this day.
Yes.
In simplicity too, I made some very unpopular, drastic decisions, cutting classes that just didn't align anymore with the vision. And just cut them like pretty much overnight. It's like, I think we're cutting all those classes now. And
you have an amazing ability you trust yourself so implicitly. You know in your gut, that's not right, it's no longer a match, you take action. You're an incredible action taker.
Yeah, I'm an
Truly.
activator for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's
my number 2.
So look, our strength, we've got the same top 2 strengths.
Futurist and activator.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is like because you see it and then you make it.
I know. That's why I get you so much, because it's so true. Because a futurist, someone that sees in the future, that not sees in the future, but that is a visionary.
Yes.
A visionary needs an activator,
and
we are one and the same. It's scary.
We get stuff done.
We get stuff done.
Right?
We exhaust everyone around us.
I'm looking at my team. We exhaust everyone.
Everyone.
Because we see it.
We
and
see
we have
it,
to
and
have
we have
it
to
now.
do it right now.
Now. I can't wait.
I'll stop everything. I've got this great idea.
It's so true.
It's so true.
And it's really challenging. It's really challenging to manage within ourselves. Like sometimes we do need patience. But I tell you what, it's fun.
It's fun, and things will not stay the same.
No.
They will never just stay the exact same.
No, they can't. Because if we stop activating, we are our creativity, a whole fire.
Yeah, that's right.
But when we can consolidate it so that we don't have to necessarily burn down the building,
that's right.
We can actually find new ways of navigating that.
Yes.
So we can still find more of the simplicity, more of sophistication in what we're doing. Because we've actually done the big pivots. And I think that you're at a stage now. Like there will still be things, but you don't have to do the massive.
Yeah,
massive
that's the hope for me, is that I've done all of this. See, I can't even say it's done, because you never know.
You never know.
I might get a new idea on a beach someday. Walking
tomorrow.
the beach, or tomorrow because I'm at retreat. So true. That's when I have all of them. I'm a dreamer, so it was fun because the theater itself was a dream of mine, and I think the studio part were kind of, it was something that was just kind of not an afterthought, but it was inevitable that that we would teach as well.
Yes.
And now I feel like I've built the studio also of my dreams. That when I was a little girl, this is where I would have wanted to go. And I just think it's some place that's so magical, where the students can truly be unlimited. And to be able to know that truth now, where if you would have asked me, hey, what's your values 4 years ago, I would have gone, which studio's values, the values here. And now I truly have students that get the big picture, and they're taking classes in theater and in dance at the same time, which is what was my goal, originally. No, it wasn't my goal originally. I didn't know that was my goal.
Yes.
It became my goal. That now, I didn't know what I needed, but now I know that I needed that simplicity and that simple business model in order to attract and find my dream students.
And truly have a life that gives you and your family the opportunity to do everything that you desire and more.
Yes.
Romantic trips to Paris this year.
Yes.
Not having to have a nanny because you can be with your boys.
Yes.
Like you are truly living the dream.
Yeah.
You really are.
We're trying. I know I have, thanks to you, I have an entire summer planned in 2 years. Everyone knows about it, and then we're going to Europe for an entire summer.
It's going to be
and that's our busiest season. It's not like other dance studios where maybe they take off the summers. Like that's our busiest season. So we will be gone the entire summer, because other families get to do that when they're in school, and studio owners don't always get that.
Until their businesses have been redefined.
Yes.
Like you, my friend.
Yes.
Like you. I think it's interesting. So you've probably seen one of the questions I get asked very, very frequently. We were talking about who is our dream student, right? And people think, well, my dream student is, for this preschool program, it's this kind of parent and this type of thing. And then they've got a very different construct of their dream student, like maybe their comp team.
Right.
And then a very different one, like maybe like their adults program. And the thing that I keep really passionately advocating for is that it is one dream student. I think what's been really interesting about watching the progression of your studio and how you make decisions is, like you just said, like it was the studio you wanted to go to as a child, and it's now the studio you'd want to send your child to as an adult, and it's the studio that if you were performing, well, you still are actually, you do, and Miss Bell, if when you are that person, the dream student is at every stage, and it's kind of designing that sequence of education that is going to carry the student along that time, and designing the business model to be able to define that scope. And that's what's been really powerful about you, is you've gone very clear on who is the student we want to attract, and that student, I'm okay with them they're going to do theatre and dance and probably some voice work as well. So, you are a Broadway musical theatre based core program, and we're not isolating ourselves in dance. You've gone, I know who we are, I know how to take them from here all the way through to here. And that permission, that confidence has been such a shift in your business that I've so admired.
Thank you. It's been very freeing. It's been fun to just boldly shout who we are and to not try to fit in a mold.
Right.
Because it's hard, because and it was the same when I designed the theater, there wasn't a mold for that in our area. So no one understood what a professional theater meant. They thought it was community theater means you don't need to pay anyone, or a professional theater means like a touring company.
Yes.
So they didn't understand like a true regional professional theater in our area. They'd never seen that before. So that was already something new. And so it was funny to me that then I designed studios maybe mirrored what I had seen before or worked for before.
Which is how we replicate what we've seen, what we know to be existing.
Yeah.
But you broke that.
Yeah. I feel like I've truly broke the mold, for me. And I'm not really following any guidelines or rules that anyone else has set in place, or even designing the business that competes with anyone else. It's its own unique thing, and I feel like the dream students will find us, and they understand what we do when they're there. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily looking for every student.
Well, you've kind of raised the benchmark for a lot of your students. You make them audition.
Yes.
And like I remember when we were introducing that, like, you're going to make every kid audition because we're wanting our level of quality to be here. Unashamedly, unapologetically, this is who we are.
Yeah. And but even that shift for me, I initially started out my new conservatory with everyone had to audition, and that was part of my activator self. Everyone's going to have to audition, and I'm going to take this many students, and I'm going to hit my goals, and everything's done, and great. But the challenging part is what I realized, we still do that. I still audition everyone has to audition to get into the conservatory. But what I realized is so many of my dream students might come in through the door with just a fun class and didn't know that, oh my goodness.
The whole world opens up.
Yeah. So it's been a fun shift for me, but one I wasn't prepared for, because I put everything into the new shiny child of the conservatory and realizing, I also need to just attract the kids that want a fun class. But also they know once they're in there, they know who we are and who we train and what our students have accomplished. But it's been a fun shift to kind of play with that back and forth, going, yes, I want to 100% invest in my dream student that already knows what they want to do. But it's also been fun to invest in those students that are just starting out and figuring it out for themselves with just a fun class.
There's a lot of wisdom in that, because you have the power to introduce them, educate them about what is possible when they don't know. Just like as a studio owner, we don't know what we don't know. Those kids coming in don't know what they don't. They don't know what's possible. That's our job to present it to them beautifully. So if we could go back to that day when we first met, and you were, a little bit emotionally stretched, should we say? What would you, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give Bethany then?
Breathe. It's going to be okay. But start dreaming again. I was a dreamer first. That's how everything was a dream. The theater was a dream. I dreamt of adopting children. I dreamt of marrying the handsome prince. I dreamt of having a lovely home, and all those things happened. And then all of a sudden I just, we're all moms, and I stopped dreaming for myself. And I was just reacting every day, reacting to the changing of the diapers, and reacting to business, and reacting to the bills, and reacting to everything. And that's what was so lovely about having that moment and having those times in masterclass and in retreat, was I had time to sit and reflect and start dreaming again. And that's what was very freeing for me when we worked on our zone of genius. And my zone of genius is inspiring dreams and creating dreams. So I was like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's why I laugh and say I'm probably never quite done, because it made me see that that's what I love. I love to hear about other people's dreams. That's why I always get excited about whatever new project we're doing in Evolution, but also excited for my students for their dreams, but also realizing that I get to have dreams as well in that, and not just, it's not just time for my students or my children, but yet mommy has dreams too. Like renewing my vows in Paris, and we did. Right. And it was lovely.
Magical moment.
And that was all things that came out of, for me, came out of Evolution. That was planned. That was something that came out of retreats.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we look back. Your business name is Legacy. This all comes. People's dreams are the formation of their legacy, which is so inherent in everything you do.
Yeah,
It's very powerful.
It is.
Very powerful.
It's been fun to kind of to watch how that name that we chose, and we chose that for that reason. You know, what do we want to be remembered for? But now, truly, kind of seeing how that has evolved has been really fun. It's fun to experience that.
You are a trailblazer, my friend.
Thank you.
Love your work.
You
Thank
too,
so
friends.
much for
Love your
sharing.
work.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us today. It's very, very inspiring.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ready to join us? Apply now at studioexpansion.com/evolution apply.